Hey guys, it is Mr. Dave with the RayKitty Creation Workshop, and you are joining us for the RayKitty Science Project. Thanks for checking us out today. We've got some fun stuff here, and I have some microscopes set up here. Now, I usually kind of go through a list of things that you'll need for the episode if you want to kind of join along. Today's a little different. These microscopes here, you don't need a microscope for what we're doing today, but I am going to use this to kind of show off a little bit of it. But we're just going to talk about bugs, okay? Insects. Now, if there is any kind of arachnophobia, as far as an arachnophobia warning, the only spiders that we will be dealing with will be encased in this resin. So there won't be any moving spiders. There will be moving other bugs, and there will be some of the things that you find in a spider's web. But we don't have any moving spiders. I just know that the arachnophobia is a thing for some folks. I was going to have a black widow today, but my daughter is my resident black widow relocator. We usually, if we do find them, we try to relocate them. Unless they're in the house, then that's too much. But if they are right outside, she'll usually catch them and relocate them. The one that we were hunting today just got away and we couldn't catch it. But this here is some of the remainders that we found in her web. So we don't have any spiders. If you do have something like that, we won't have any moving spiders if you are afraid of that. We are going to have some moving bugs, just little bitty insects. The bugs that we have here today are from what my daughters and I call just backyard exploring. Okay, so the bugs that we have here that are living are from our backyard. So the fun thing about today, instead of needing a bunch of equipment and things like that, is go outside, get some little containers. I bought these little bitty guys here just at the dollar store, and I got 10 of them for $1.25. These little bit bigger guys, these are glass. And the glass is handy if you do want to be able to see them through the microscope. Now, I have the microscope set up here because we are going to be checking out some parts with the microscopes, but that is not a requirement for doing this. It is way fun to just look at these bugs on your own with a little magnifying glass if you have one. These microscopes are all fancy with the screens and that kind of thing, but as I've said, anytime I bring these out, a microscope is a wonderful thing to have in your science kit, and you don't have to worry about going out and buying some big expensive microscope. You can buy a very inexpensive plastic body thing from the toy department of the store, and because of the way that optics and things are nowadays, even those toy microscopes will give you a wonderful result. Now, maybe you're not going to get quite the clarity and that kind of stuff, but if you can afford just a little $20 microscope or go to a thrift store to get a microscope, even the little microscopes you find, don't worry about, oh, I need a big fancy microscope. Nope. Get a cheap one. You will have lots of fun with that thing. So I know I say that every time I bring these out. These ones here, they do have the screen. Your normal ones won't have the screen. I have the screen on mine because I do use these in classroom settings, and I refer to the other ones as pink eye microscopes. Because when you're in the classroom and everyone's putting their eye on it, and then the next kid comes and puts their gunky eye on there, yeah, I don't like that. So, and especially when we get to checking out in a near future episode, looking at bacteria and things like that. Yeah, if you're in a classroom setting, maybe go for something like this. All right, so that's enough about the microscopes. On this one here, I have a little beetle that's in some resin, and that's just focused in on kind of the little head area, and this is the top of the eyeballs on that beetle there, and that's just in some resin. That is not one that we found. But we are going to be looking at some live critters today. The ones that we're going to be looking at, these ones, these are not live critters. These guys here are the ones that we did harvest from the little black widow's nest there, or webbing, and it has that web there still. We're going to look at that web under the microscope. That web is crazy sticky and incredibly strong. So that is black widow web, and we did get it from her web there. We tried not to bug her too much. As I said, we really like to relocate them when we can, because spiders, while they can be kind of creepy, crawly, scary, are wonderful to have around. They help out a lot more than the scariness of them. In this one here, these guys are absolutely no good. These are just little bitty beetles that I have in here. I'm not going to open this one yet. These are some beetles that get on one of the kind of weeds in our neighborhood here. They're just little bitty beetles, but we will be opening those and checking those out. And I'm just kind of showing you some of the things that we got in our backyard exploration, okay? This is a scorpion, but it is missing its tail, right? I live kind of by the river, and we have lots of scorpions there. This guy is missing his tail, but he is looking pretty good other than that. These are little bitty centipedes. They love to crawl around. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera there. We'll bring them up on the microscope in a little bit. But these guys are little bitty tiny centipedes. My daughter was stoked to find those guys. Centipedes are evil, okay? All these other bugs, none of these other bugs, man, centipedes is so gross though. But anyway, yeah, my daughter's like, oh yeah, look, centipedes. I'm like, nope. Yeah, anything else? I was like, okay, I'll mess with all those, but anyway, so those are little centipedes, kind of gross. You notice I put the lid back on as quickly as I could. There's a little worm in here, so we'll see if we see that guy. This one in here is a little grasshopper. You can see his little bottom there. What was pretty meta was we were out catching all of these things in our yard, right? And putting them into little glass jars. And then my daughter and I walked into the house and closed the door, and there was a grasshopper on the outside of the door. Yeah, now we were the ones. Anyway, yeah, so that gets pretty deep. I'm not going to get into all of that. But we will be flipping this over. This is a little tip for checking out your bugs, okay? If you are catching the bugs, I did catch these guys this morning. The goal is not to torment them or anything like that. That's why I don't have them in here too long. I will release all of these bugs when we're done, just because I don't want to bug them too much. This one here, we have a couple of ants that are in this one here that we'll be checking out. And one of kind of my tips when you are checking them out, if you have them in these little containers here, the plastic, whether you can see it or not, sometimes that plastic is porous enough that those little critters can crawl up it. Glass, most little bugs can't crawl up glass. Some of them can, depending on the bug, but glass is something that's usually a little bit easier to keep them contained in. I have a piece of saran wrap here. The saran wrap I'm going to be using, or plastic wrap, okay? Plastic wrap, brand name, I got it from the dollar store. But this plastic wrap, when we take it off, I can put it over the top of something so that we can get it under the microscope. Okay, because as we can see, like this guy here, he's on the bottom. We can flip it over and we can use our saran wrap to kind of keep those critters in there. Okay, another thing, when you are working with little bitty insects, I do not have my tablecloth on here today, and that is because I want a nice smooth surface rather than that fabric and material. If I do have a critter that gets loose on my table, I want to be able to capture that critter without damaging it and without it getting stuck in my fabric. Okay, so another tip, something you may not think of until it actually happens to you, you want a nice smooth surface that you are keeping those critters on. Okay, so that's enough for all of the prerequisite how to do this fairly safely stuff. Let's start looking at bugs. Now, I downloaded a sheet off of the internet. This is not something I drew up. If I drew it up, it would not look anywhere nearly as nice. But this is just a fun one. You don't have to do this, but if you are kind of doing that backyard exploring and you want to kind of, work with the students on, okay, well, what are we looking at here? This is just a fun little one. There are billions and trillions of these on the internet for any kind of bug you're looking at. I did this here for our grasshopper, and that just kind of a fun way of showing, okay, this is what we're looking at. Okay, so that's all that I downloaded this one here for, is to just kind of show what we're looking at. But really, we want to get to the fun stuff of checking out our bugs. Okay, so we're going to start with our grasshopper here because that was the one that I have on that little paper. The microscope we're using on this side has got a lot lower magnification than the one on this side. If you're looking at the one on this side here, those are the little bitty toes of a little bitty scorpion. Okay, those are just his toes. Okay, these are the toes of this scorpion right here. Okay, so that microscope has got a very powerful lens on it, and so when you're looking at these critters, as I said, even an inexpensive microscope will have lenses about that powerful on there. But when we're looking at especially our living ones, we probably we'll use our one that has got a weaker lens because it'll show us a wider area and it has a longer focal length. Okay, the focal length is how far we see into our image, and the wider area that we're seeing is going to let us see more of the bugs. So if you're doing this at home, you're probably going to want to use the weakest lens you have on your microscope. Okay, and that is this one here. So these little bugs that I've got are a fun little thing. These are just little guys that I purchased off of the internet. And these are just bugs that are in resin. Okay, I have lots of them here. These are fun. They're very inexpensive, and you can really kind of get to see bugs that maybe you wouldn't get to see normally. Yeah, this one here, as I did say, the only spiders that we'll have are encased in resin. I know even video games right now have got a like arachnophobia setting, so I just want to make sure that I'm not scaring anyone. But yeah, so these ones are fun to see, you know, like I say, insects that you wouldn't normally get to see. But let's look at some of the ones that we are going to find around here in our good old Albuquerque. This guy here is a scorpion. As I said, I live by the, kind of by the river. And so scorpions are a norm. Okay, when I first moved to my current house, I was like, ew, scorpions. And now I'm like, yep, there's a scorpion. Yeah, so these are something that you'll see pretty regularly, are these scorpions. So let's look at some of these parts here. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at how I showed you before, how we just saw the little bitty toes on that guy. Let me dial this one in. Ew. So, now, when we're looking at this, this one here, we're moving our plate to kind of get our distance, but yeah, you can see, here's my little pointer, and I'll see if I can point on there, but what we're looking at here is that is that one little foot. Those are those same little toes on that scorpion right there. You see those little bitty toes? Yeah, at the end of his leg are his little bitty toes. That's how these little guys get around. So those are scorpion toes, okay? Aren't they cute? I don't think we would call them toe beans like you would with a cat or anything like that, because these look more like something you would find on a predator, like the movie Predator. All right, so, but we also see that even though the scorpion doesn't look very hairy in our image here, when we're getting nice and close, we see a lot of those little hairs on that scorpion. Now, a lot of our bugs that don't seem hairy will have all of these little fibers on them, okay? Well, I guess I could point up here. That's way easier. So when we're looking, yeah, see, so these are our little toe beans. And then all these little hairs that we see here, a lot of our insects are actually going to have hair, and it serves a couple different purposes. One of the main ones is like the whiskers on a cat. Okay, because little bitty bugs are usually crawling around in lots of crevices and things like that. They can feel whether something's moving, or they can feel if they're going to get caught in something. But those little bitty hairs will show them kind of what they are coming up against and what they are possibly being attacked by. So we'll see if we can find the little pinchers on this guy. I was going to do the grasshopper first, but then I found the scorpion. All right, so let's see. See if I can find his pinchers. There we go. Whoop. So that is those little bitty scorpion pinchers there, okay? We can see that they're really not as sharp as they seem like they would be. This scorpion doesn't have his tail. I wish he did. Those little scorpion tails are so fine and so sharp. But so what we're doing here is we're checking out this is a bug that is deceased. Okay, and we found this guy in our yard during our backyard exploring. Now, we're going to look at, I did promise to look at the grasshopper, so I am turning our grasshopper over, and I am going to put saran wrap over the top so that our grasshopper doesn't jump all over the place. Now, remember, if you are doing this inside, make sure that you are not doing it on a tablecloth, because these guys will grab that tablecloth and they can easily stick to it. Okay, so the saran wrap here is nice and clear, and we'll be able to see a little better his face and things. Now, with the smaller guys, I probably won't do the saran wrap because sometimes they can get trapped in it. But I'm going to move that leaf because he's hiding behind the leaf. There we go. Okay, and let's check out this grasshopper. Now, what's fun is to check out these guys that are alive, and it's crazy to see how interesting and how amazing these little critters are. Okay, so we're looking at, let's see, bonk. Let's move him around. Get him into view here. There we go. I got to dial it in just a sec. There we go. Now, remember how we talked about those little fibers and those little hairs? Now, these guys have got crazy legs to them that have got almost little spikes on them. They look almost like a dinosaur with their legs there. This guy does not want us to check him out. Oh, yeah, there we go. I want to get his little eyeballs there. See if we can see. Yeah, there we go. So we can see my head, make sure my head doesn't get in the way there. We can see this guy is walking around in circles. He is teasing me right now. But yeah, we can see as we're moving it around, those are parts of that leg there. Okay, we can see those legs and all the little spines and the hairs like we were talking about before on that guy's leg. We can see his... I think he's running from the light or toward the light, one or the other. There we go. So let's get his head in there. I'm going to move that light because maybe he's liking that. And really? Well, this guy is being a little camera shy. So let's move on to one of... That's funny. He's going around in a circle. He is not stopping. There you go. There's his little head. So we can see that little eyeball looking at you. And now he's staying still for just a second. Until, of course, I try to dial it in. This guy, me and him are going to have a talk when we're done here. All right, so let's see what some of these other little guys that we've got. So I'm going to take him. I am going to put my little top right back on there so he doesn't jump out. And let's check out, actually here, let's switch to these guys here. These are our little bitty ants, okay? Now remember what I was saying about the glass. We don't have to worry too much about the ants escaping because they have a hard time. I say that, and then this guy crawled right up that side there. Because the... Oh, yeah, you see, then you start freaking out. Oh, there's a guy right here. Okay, so when we've got these guys, we want to see their little pinchers. See if I can get this guy under the stick here. There you go. And we're just going to check out the guy on the stick for now. Because I can kind of control where he's at. And let's dial him in and see if we can see this guy here. Yeah. So this little guy is just our regular ant like we see all over the place. If you live here in New Mexico, you see these guys all over. And he keeps going to the bottom, but there you go. So you can see those mandibles on that guy. Those are the parts that get you. You can see... he keeps... There we go. Yeah. So this little guy here is just kind of your common everyday ant that we have outside that you will get inside and you try and get rid of them. And let's see. All of my critters, once they get under that light, they start going crazy. There you go. But yeah, so we can see that little ant, let me catch him. There we go. Our little ant here is, let me get him on, make sure I get him back in my little container so he doesn't escape from me. So these are some of the guys that you're going to find in your yard, your little ants, your little grasshoppers. I want to show you what I was talking about earlier. This is a little bit easier to control because these guys are no longer moving. These I found, or my daughter found, in the black widow's web in our yard. So we're going to show you what that web looks like and what some of these critters that have been wrapped up in that web look like. So let's show this guy here. This is a June bug, okay? Now, remember how I told you about the little centipedes? This June bug's right up there. I hate June bugs. So this little June bug here, fortunately for me, got caught in that little nest of the spider, the little web of the spider. And let's check him out and see what he's missing. So this here is all of this mess that you see here. That's actually spider web. Now a black widow's web is very strong, okay? So we can see here all of this webbing here, that it normally doesn't look like that. It's in kind of a nice flowy fabric pattern, but when we wrapped it up, we caught that there. And you can see how sticky it is. It sticks to my stick. And let's see our little June bug here. So our June bug, or most of a June bug, what the black widow will do is they don't actually kind of eat the entire insect. It's grosser than that. They will actually kind of inject them, turn their insides to kind of soupy yuck, and then they will suck that out of them. So you'll see that the critters that were in the black widow's web, you'll see usually the shell of them there. There you go. But you're not going to end up seeing the entire critter. Now I've got another guy under here. This guy fell out. And this one here was a beetle that was in that black widow's web. And you can see how this guy even got kind of that classic cartoon wrapped up a little bit there. And you can see how he is not like, it's pretty just decimated, right? So we have that husk of the outside there, and that's all that we have, okay? So this guy here, let's see if I can move it around where you can see him a little bit better. And then my web, of course, is in the way. There we go. So let's move this. Yeah, so we can see here how this guy, rather than having that nice like full belly that our other guys have there, this one is all sunken in where he's been just kind of absorbed and they sucked all of the goodness out of him, okay? So when we're looking at these, I've got some little beetles in there, but they're going to be kind of tricky. Let me see about my little bitty. We're going to see if we can catch these guys here and see if we can get them on camera. Everyone else is being a little camera shy today. So we'll see how these guys are doing. These are our little, oh, there you go. These are our little centipedes. And they are, there you go. Yeah, wasn't he cute? No, he's so nasty. Yeah, so this little guy here, these are little bitty centipedes. And again, they're kind of just running and chasing the light. When I've got these lights on there, it's kind of funny. That was a factor there. There you go. So our centipedes, you can see, are built a lot different than our other guys here. Our centipedes have got a nice little, like that elongated body, and they're a lot more like what you're going to end up seeing when you look into our next episode, which is going to be on little microscopic critters. For our next episode, we're going to look at some little microscopic critters. They're a little bit easier to wrangle than some of these guys here. But these little centipedes are just a little guy that you'll find in the yard. Like I said, these guys are going to be underneath stuff. Usually when you're looking for your bugs, when you're going for your backyard exploring, look underneath stuff. Okay, look underneath rocks, look underneath planters, look underneath, especially anything like that will hold water or where you can have a moist area there. That's where you're going to have your critters. Okay, so going backyard exploring, we call it backyard exploring because that's what the kids said when they were little. But going backyard exploring is a lot of fun with the kiddos. You don't need a fancy microscope. As you can see, it's sometimes easier just to see them with your eyeballs than try and catch them on a microscope. But going backyard exploring is a fun thing to do with the kiddos. It doesn't really cost anything. You can do it with an old Tupperware or whatever jar, and you can have a great time outside with your students or with your kids, just learning about the nature and the safari that is around us. Okay, so these are our microscopes. These are our bugs. I am Mr. Dave. And this is the RayKitty Science Project. And as I end everything, don't forget that science shows you matter.